It's week 36 of the golfing calendar, and today we're at the famous Royal Melbourne in the Morecambe Room overlooking the beautiful 18th hole. Bit overcast, bit of wind around. You know what? Feels like a perfect day for a glass of wine and a bit of talking birdies. So now, on the most listened to Australian golf podcast, here's Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen. Talk birdie to me.
So we're at Royal Melbourne Golf Club in the Morecambe Room, and I wander in, and Dan and Nick have got themselves a nice house red. That's how we're travelling these days.
Well,
mine's on the way. Thanks for ordering. Nick, what is it? What's this red you're drinking here?
well, the thing about all golf clubs, I think, in Australia is they always have their signature drinks,
Yes,
right?
that's
Wherever
right.
you go. Kingston Heath would be the same for yourself.
Yes.
I know Metropolitan, they do it.
Yeah,
But,
Kingston Heath has got a thing called the Southerly Buster.
Yes.
They're unreal.
I've had one of those.
Have
Very
you?
nice.
Yeah, they're really
They
nice.
are very good. But here they have a house Shiraz. It's from Epsilon in the Barossa Valley, and there's a local member, Aaron Southern, who provides that. So, and I'll tell you what, let me just
Yeah.
have my first
Yeah, go
sip,
on. Yeah,
because the
it's-
colour is incredible.
it's not
It's a
your
dark
first sip. Look-
ruby red.
Who are you
And
trying
I know
to
yours
fool?
is on the way.
Who are you trying to fool? Dan?
It's not my first sip, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I can tell.
That's fabulous.
All right, that's good. And we're in the Morecambe Room. Now, the Morecambe name, that's a famous one here at Royal Melbourne. I'm scratching my head trying to work out.
Yes, Mick Morecambe. He was a head greenkeeper when the course, remember the course was first designed by
Yeah.
Alistair Mackenzie
Yeah, yeah.
and Alex Russell.
Russell,
That's right.
that's
Almost
right.
100 years ago, and he was the greenkeeper here for many, many years early on, and what a job he did.
Yeah, one of the great things when you drive into Royal Melbourne, I mean, these days it's unbelievable with the new car park and the grass tennis courts out the front. The clubhouse looks unbelievable. But when you drive in just on the right-hand side, you'd see the tools that they hoed the fairways with day one. And it's just dirty old machines. You can imagine just a donkey, in front of them,
Yep.
dragging them along. But I just love history at golf clubs.
Yep.
And you walk through, how about downstairs in this joint, when you walk through and see all the old clubs that have been used here over the years and the pitches.
Oh, it's incredible. And
It
they've
is
got
incredible.
Scotty's clubs from his Masters win. The history, when you walk down that main hallway, is magnificent.
What's the club? There's a club, the Colonial. When I go into
Yes.
that Colonial, so it's where they play the Colonial tournament in Fort Worth. When you go in there and you get to go in Ben Hogan's little shop there or whatever the hell it is, shrine. It's
basically.
a shrine, and then you look at the pictures on the walls, and you've got Snead and Nelson and everybody who was anybody had been there. It is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful things, when you go into a new course for the first time, especially if it's been around 100 odd years and big tournaments have been played there. It is just magnificent just to take 10 minutes to have a look around.
Yeah, I always, every year I played the Colonial tournament there, I'd always go in there for 10 or 15 minutes, and you can get lost in there.
Yeah.
You can really, and they've got videos playing. They've got his own old locker that was set up with all his gear that was in there.
Yeah.
You know who did something recently very similar was the Woodlands Golf Club. They did it for Margie Masters, who is a legendary female golfer who's played in the US for many, many years, and she passed recently. But they've set up a very similar room, and I was in there the other day after just playing some golf, and I got lost in it for about 10 or 15 minutes just reading all the history, and it was wonderful. Wonderful.
Jeff Ogilvy went in when they were having a look at Shady Oaks. Now, of course, OCM have redone Shady Oaks, and that's Ogilvy, Mike Cocking, Mead. They did the short course there where Ben Hogan used to practice, and then they ended up, on the strength of how good the short course was, they went and got the whole course. But you could go in there and use some Ben Hogan drivers.
Really?
So they had, and everyone who hits this driver that Ben Hogan used, for a great majority of his career, everyone hits it straight right.
Yeah.
And Jeff Ogilvy tells a story that it's like a pole. It's the stiffest club you've ever seen. It sits super flat because
Super heavy too, I'm imagining.
super heavy, super flat, no roll on the face. It's just a dead straight club.
Wow.
And everybody who hits it, including Jeff Ogilvy, it just goes miles right. No one can get this thing anywhere near
Probably struggle to get it airborne too.
where they think it goes. And here's a bloke who was 5'3" and had an accident, shortened his golf swing, did everything, just couldn't miss a fairway with the thing.
Yeah,
Anyway,
amazing.
if you get an
Amazing.
opportunity to do that stuff. Hey, the reason we're here at Royal Melbourne today is because I played in the Lexus of Blackburn Golf Day.
Beautiful. And how did you go, by the way?
We came third.
Nice.
Yeah, that's not
Nice.
bad. Look at that. I picked up this FootJoy
Oh,
top.
lovely.
Yeah, it fits nicely, actually.
Perfect.
I'm very happy. Anyway, you know, these things, they always give you a few golf balls. So you get a sleeve of golf balls.
Yep.
I can tell you this. I'm a Pro V1 guy and have been, you know, forever.
So am I.
They threw in these Tour Soft Titleists. I thought, yeah, I'll give them a go. You know,
Tour Soft.
it's called Tour Soft.
Okay.
Well, the ball went like the clappers off the tee, as good as you get. I mean, if you've got a 5-iron or something, don't expect to stop the 5-iron any better than you would with an old Pinnacle or something.
Okay.
But around the greens, you know how hard the greens are at this joint.
For sure.
You got a little bit of spin. So I'm putting it out there. If you have been a rusted-on Pro V1 Titleist kind of person, or any other ball for that matter, and you're losing a little bit of yardage off the tee, so let's say your swing speed's under 100 miles per hour, which I'm fast approaching, have a crack at these balls.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was really, really impressed. Sometimes you've actually got to be forced into trying something, because I would never have, ever in a million years.
What did you get? A sleeve of 3?
Yes, leave a 3.
Did you have the 3, or what, did you just? Was it just one for the day, or did you go through all 3?
No, I lost one.
Well, you can give me one to try.
I've got one left, Nick.
Okay.
I'll give you the used one.
Yeah, thanks.
The used one. Hey, I guess the big news, and we've been watching him for a while. He's won on the European Tour now. Ludvig Aberg. And this is, what a time to have the win, because as we record, we think the decision being made right now for the European Ryder Cup tour picks are being made. Now, if you are picking the European side, do you leave him out, Nick?
No way.
No way.
No, that's for sure. The performance he put in down the stretch, especially, and everyone's sort of been talking about this young guy. He's 6'3", tall, strapping, swings it like like Adam Scott, basically, just like a god. And
has never done anything wrong in his entire life.
No.
When I talk to the coach.
Okay. Yeah.
Never in his life.
And you know what I love about him? Is he plays fast.
Yeah.
And that really is a check in the box for me. He has a pure action. The only one bad thing I don't like about him is he's a spitter. Okay?
He spits. How
yeah.
bad does it look on TV these days when people are spitting?
But a lot of the Swedes were like that. You know, they've got the dip in the corner of the mouth. I'm not sure if he's got any dip in there, but
no dip.
So I was watching him on the 18th tee. He had a bit of a wait, and there was a fair bit coming out. But at least he had some saliva in the mouth, because some players might be a little dry.
Yeah.
But,
God, it is a bad look, though, isn't it? When you see someone just go on camera. I mean, I wonder if the PGA Tour understands that. How bad a look it is. I mean, you know, I guess we're whinging about nothing really, but...
Well, if you watch the baseballers, you wouldn't want to do that, because they do it everywhere. But as I was watching the final day, and as the sort of the Sunday evolved, it was almost a shootout between the Fitzpatrick brothers. That was the other big story. We had Matt Fitzpatrick, who was leading the whole way, and his brother Alex started the day 2 or 3 behind him in a tie for 3rd or 4th.
They played together at the start of the 3rd round, was that right? Or the start of the 4th round?
No, they haven't.
They didn't play together?
They didn't play together. And... as it turned out, I was watching the leaderboard, and you had Fitzpatrick, because he made an early birdie or two, and he was coming in second to his brother, and I thought, how are the parents going? Because apparently they were out there as well. Who were they following? Who were they barracking? But as it turned out, Ludvig he was about 2 or 3 shots behind with 6 to play. Fitzpatrick had the tournament in his hands. Ludvig birdied 4 of the last 5, which is a mean effort,
unreal.
Especially on that golf course. Crans-sur-Sierre, I got to be honest, it's not a great golf course.
It's a dodgy course.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Good views, nice views.
Spectacular. The best views you're ever going to see all year.
But as dodgy as dodgy.
Yeah, many years ago, Sevi Ballesteros redid the golf course. They actually got him to remodel it.
Yeah.
And you know what he did? He made it impossible to get the thing up and down around the greens. He basically turned the greens into upside-down saucers, so that played right into his hands. But... Fitzpatrick made a horrible bogey on the par 5, the 14th, I think it was. He was greenside in 2, chipped it through the green into the bunker, makes bogey. Bogey's 3 of the last 4 or 5 and loses the golf tournament. So great effort by Ludvig, because everyone we've been talking about, yes, he's had some solid results. He's been top 10s in that, but he hasn't really been in contention and a chance to win. What's he going to do when the heat comes on? And he answered the call, and for me, pick him. You pick him.
He has to be picked now. Now, if you're just kind of new to the podcast, and we've been talking about him for a little while now, because he won the very first ever NCAA US Tour exemption. So he must be playing these on invites. Is that right? Because, I mean, this DP World Tour is not where he got his exemption.
No. He's only been a pro 75 days, I believe, and this is his 6th European start. So he has had a couple of invites. But when you look at the way his career is projected so far, I mean, the end of this year, I think he's playing on invites. Next year, he gets that full exemption, as we know, over in the US on that college system, I think. I think that's correct.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That's right. They only give one exemption every year. You've got to be the leading player who is, I imagine, at the start of the year.
NCAA rankings, yeah.
You probably have to put your hand up and say, this is my last year. Because otherwise, if you're the leading NCAA player in your second year, then you could kind of just pull up stumps on your college career and just take off.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, but it's thrown an interesting, not spanner, because I think he should have been picked on the team anyway. From what I've seen of the guy, the way his game fits the golf course in Marco Simone in Italy, where the Ryder Cup will be coming up in a few weeks. Yeah. The US team, we spoke about that last week, and we were looking at the picks, who would get in, who would miss out.
We were pretty close.
We were very close, and I was actually pretty surprised. So,
which one did we miss?
Well, let me go through the automatics already who were in. It was Scheffler, Clark, Harmon, Cantlay, Homer, and Schauffele. Right. Not Schauffele, but Schauffele.
Thank you.
So they have picked Brooks Koepka, Spieth, Morikawa, Burns, Fowler, and JT.
And JT
is the big controversial one. I always thought he was going to get in. I thought Fowler was going to get in. The one who I thought, wow, they didn't pick was Cameron Young. I thought he would get no problem at all.
So who do you drop out of JT?
Well, I actually had a feeling they were going to pick Brooks, but even though he just missed out on automatic. But Zach Johnson came out and said, no, it was a no-brainer. We were going to pick him all along. He's there for the big stage. The guys get on well with him, which is fair enough. He hasn't really kicked up a fuss since he's gone to the Live. So Keegan Bradley, Cameron Young, and Lucas Glover, they're the three, which were pretty hard done by. Keegan Bradley came out during the week and said, I'm not part of the boys' club. Cameron Young actually had been told by Freddie Couples a couple of months ago, yes, you're in. And Freddie's one of the assistant captains.
Yeah, that's right. So you would take that as stone.
Yeah, exactly. That's done. You're a lock. But, I wouldn't be listening to Freddie too soon. Right. But as far as the European team goes, the automatics are Rahm, Rory, Hovland, Hatton, McIntyre, who just solidified his qualification, and Matt Fitzpatrick. Now, the next thing, again, these are the picks that I think are going to happen. You've got Fleetwood, Strucker, Rose, Lowry.
They all get in.
They're the four that I'm definite.
They are in.
For me, I'm going Moronk and Aberg. They're the next two. And from the group that you've got to pick from, you've got Yannick Paul, who's a German, Victor Perez, and then the Højgaard brothers. Yeah. Rasmus and Nikolai. But I think they're going to go Moronk, who's won at Marco Simone, and Aberg. His game sets up perfect for the course.
And don't forget, Moronk's the defending Australian Open champ as well. So if you've heard the name, you want trying to work out where you're placing it, he came down to Aussie last year and won the Australian Open, the Vic and Kingston Heath. Indeed. Well, that all makes sense. Yep. I mean, I'm on you with your team. And Aberg is just a mortal lock now after winning and birding 4 of the last 5 to do it.
We'll see. He's still young. But the thing about Aberg, and I think the reason why they should pick him, because he could become the cornerstone of the Ryder Cup team in 4 years and years to come, because looking at his game, his style, the way he goes about it, he's a future number one player in the world for sure.
They did that with Sergio Garcia. Yep. I reckon Sergio Garcia played really early. Yes. I mean, I think he might have been a 19-year-old or maybe a 20-year-old and got a call up to the Ryder Cup. And with Jose Maria, I think they won a ridiculous amount of points for the European team. But you get somebody in there, I completely agree with you, and make that person. We're going to build a team around you, Ludvig. That makes sense
for sure. But you look at those two teams and you go, wow. This is going to be one heck of a contest in a few weeks, because both are very, very deep and strong. And I give the edge to Europe just because the US hasn't won on Europe soil in 30 years. But
30 years.
This is their strongest team I think they've ever fielded. It looks very impressive on paper.
One of the sad things about the Ryder Cup down here in Australia is that golf people, we know how big it is. We know how good it is. We know the emotion. We know the golf that's played, the crowds, the whole lot. But unfortunately, it's always in grand final week. And grand final, it just gets completely lost in grand final week. Now, I'm not sure this year whether the NRL and the AFL are different weekends, but it's going to be one of them.
It's September 29 to October 1.
That's AFL, yeah. That's
grand
AFL.
final day is 30, I think it is.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
That's right.
Well, that's okay. It'll be the Sunday for them. Sorry, but they're in Europe, so it'll be Sunday night here. Yeah. So that's...
Yeah. They only play 3 days
3
as well.
days.
Yeah, so it's just a 3-dayer. With the President's Cup, they play 4 days.
5 matches. Well, they play the same amount of matches they do the President's Cup, but they squeeze it into 3 days rather than 4, which I quite like.
Yeah, well, I can't wait. Those teams look amazing. Can we just quickly talk about the Walker Cup? Because I know the American team was 1 match behind coming into the singles. And you know the score, I don't. So what happened?
Well, you'll be happy because the American team possibly had some of the best cardigans that we've seen in golf.
I've been sending you guys pictures, and I will quite happily say that the American Walker Cup team is the best dressed US or any team anywhere in golf in the history of the game. They look amazing.
They did look really, really good. I'll say that.
And some cardigans, are really daggy.
Yep.
Those cardigans, they looked $1 million.
They were pretty schmick. Yeah.
Much better than the tracksuit tops that half the pros are wearing these days. Yeah. I actually won one today. Look at this little beauty. So I've won this. I put it straight on.
That is nice.
It's a tracksuit top, Dan.
That's all right.
No, I want to wear a beautiful jumper with a V-neck and, or a cardigan with some buttons that look nice. This is okay.
We'll have to put that into the Talk Birdie Team merch eventually when it comes around. Cardigans.
No. We're going to have a Talk Birdie to Me cardigan.
I love it.
That's going to be our showstopper.
Yeah. But
Don't
anyway.
laugh at that. Dan, I'm telling you, it'll be the showstopper.
Right. We will call Sam at the Golf Clearance Outlet and we will get that jumper sorted.
Yeah.
Cardigan sorted.
And he'll be right on top of this.
He's
got a good eye for fashion, Sam Colosimo.
Love it.
And Sam, the Golf Clearance Outlet, now in Perth, in Brisbane, in Sydney, and there's about 3 stores in Melbourne, so it's a beauty. Go down there. Hey,
beautiful.
Tell me, you sent me a little bit of, it was a tweet.
Well, hang on. Are we going Walker Cup to finish that off? Or you
want
to go on different tangents here?
No.
We started that way.
So what happens when you talk about cardigans?
Cardigans. I get excited. Sorry.
Yeah, anyway, so the Walker Cup for the listener out there, it's kind of like the Ryder Cup, but it's the amateur version, right? Except... it's like the old Ryder Cup.
Yeah, it's Great Britain and
Ireland. Because it's Great Britain and Ireland. I think it's time to go Europe versus US because their record, US has a 39-9-1 record against.
It's got to change.
Yeah, and Great Britain and Ireland haven't won since 2015, I think it was.
It's got to change.
The US overran them. They had a 1-point lead over the Americans going onto the final round, and it was at St Andrews too.
Yeah, how good was that?
35-mile-an-hour winds. It was pumping there, so that would have been fantastic. But they overtook them, won 14.5 to 11.5, and the next one, can't wait for this, the 50th running of this tournament.
Where's that going?
Cypress Point.
Oh, you are kidding me.
How good.
They're having a Walker Cup at Cypress.
Yeah, I think we need to do a podcast from there.
Wow. Is that every 2 years, the Walker Cup, or is it every...
every 2, because that's 2025. Yeah.
So, have you played Cypress? I mean, I've played Cypress.
Yes, several times, yeah. Love it.
This golf course where we're at today, Royal Melbourne, when we used to play tournaments here all the time, and when the first of the West was the first of the composite, and it was played the right way, I didn't think you could find a golf course anywhere that would be better than Royal Melbourne Composite. And if you don't know, Royal Melbourne West is ranked number 8 in the world. Royal Melbourne East is about 20-something. But believe me, folks, when you put 12 holes of the West and 6 holes of the East, and it's all on the one paddock, it is a mind-bending, incredible journey when you walk around this place.
It certainly is.
And when the American teams, when they come here to play and they've never seen it before, they virtually all say the same thing. So I was actually in a pretty good spot there at one stage where Fred Couples, he had just lost to Roger Davis in the Bicentennial Classic, which was in 1988, and he came back not long after the play in the first President's Cup that was here, and he was talking to Davis Love III, and he said, Davis, if this golf course was in America, it would be the number 1 or 2 golf course in the world.
Yep.
And then he said, and everybody else who I know on the team, they're all saying the same stuff.
Yep.
They're saying exactly the same stuff. If this course was somewhere else, if it was in America, it just changes. Right. And unfortunately, Nick, now I want to ask you this question. Yeah. You know your stuff, and you've played Cypress, and I agree, Cypress, even though I've never seen Pine Valley.
Neither have I, actually.
I'm going to say that Cypress is probably the number 2 because every time I have a look at Pine Valley on YouTube or something. It does look unbelievable.
Yeah.
But if Royal Melbourne Composite was judged on those rankings, because it never is.
No.
But if it was judged, geez.
You'd be hard-pressed to beat it. Yeah. Everyone always asks me, what's your favourite course in the world? And I have 3. So I have the old course at St Andrews, in no particular order. Old course at St Andrews, Cypress Point, and then Royal Melbourne Composite. So, and even if we just played West, I'd still have it in my 3 because I love the West. It's just incredible. The East is magic as well, but I love the West over the East.
Yeah, of course. And just being on the one paddock too.
That's nice. That's the composite.
Nice. Yeah. And the composite, the way it used to play, 1 through 6, and you came back to the old pro shop.
Yeah.
Then you play 7 through 12. And you'd come back to the pro shop. Then you play 13 to 18. Again, you'd come back to the old pro shop. So it was this beautiful little 3 holes of 6. And it was,
magic.
It was absolutely magic the way it was. Anyway, by the way, I used to have the composite as the number 1 in the world until I saw Cyprus. And then Cyprus edged me out. It edged it out.
Pretty special for sure.
It was ridiculous. Yeah. Now, Anne Van Dam.
What a great name.
1 of the great sports names in the whole world. 2, she's got a beautiful swing. But 3, there has been some drama in it.
There certainly has. On the Ladies European Tour at the Irish Open, Anne Van Dam had the lead going into the final round. As it turned out, she goes into a playoff with 2 other players. We had Smella Tardy-Soenderby.
Well done.
I got that out. I don't know how I got that out.
Magnificent.
Thank you.
Have another glass of red.
How you go. It helped. She's a Danish golfer. And then Swede Lisa Pedersen was also in there with Anne Van Dam. Now, as they're driving back down the 18th hole in the golf carts.
As they do when you go back for a playoff,
What I was confused with was why she didn't have the caddy in the back of the cart.
That's right.
Because the other players did. Driving down, and they take a bit of a detour, going under the ropes, as you do.
As you do.
A lot of the times. Anne Van Dam reaches back, pulls the rope up, drops it, and thinking they're clear, the cart keeps going, bang, down onto the floor, snaps the head of her driver.
Correct.
Before she can play in the playoff.
Now, we've got to post the footage.
It's
so
incredible.
we will get it out to you folks. But when... You could just see it, everything just taking place. Before, like as soon as you sent it to me, I got, oh no! But I just saw it at the start.
Yep.
The bag was dragged off.
Yep.
But then you see the official who was driving the cart hand back the head cover. Obviously, the big wood is still in there, and you could see that official's face.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
and Van Dam, you know what she said?
What'd she say?
I won't put the language in there that she used, but she said you had one job to do.
Is that what she said? You had one job.
But the caddy was standing there as well, so the caddy must have been walking alongside. I don't know why the caddy wasn't in there, because what the caddy should do is grab the rope. But at the same time, it was a little bit of Anne Van Dam's fault, because she was the one who dropped the rope where it finished.
Yeah, I'm not blaming the official who drove the cart. I'm blaming Anne Van Dam.
And usually what happens in this scenario, before the playoff starts, she can grab a backup driver. But guess what? Her backup driver that she started with the week with, or the driver she had to start the week, had been snapped on the way there in a flight. So she snapped 2 drivers for the week.
Are you kidding me? And the end of the story is she didn't win the playoff.
Well, took 3-wood. She's long enough. It's a par 5. Hits 3-wood. Hits an amazing second shot to about 12 feet. Smella Tardy-Soenderby. I got that out. I'm on a roll with that name.
That is magnificent.
She hits it to 15 feet, drops it in for eagle, and Van Dam misses her eagle attempt. So Smella ended up winning the playoff. But I don't think she would have done any better if she still had the driver in the bag, to be honest. So I don't think it affected it that much. But I'd never seen stuff like that before. That's bizarre.
No, that's Benny Hill stuff.
Oh, it was incredible.
Benny Hill.
Incredible.
I mean, this is now, tell me this. Anne Van Dam, has she won before? Has she had a win yet on the European Tour?
That's a good question.
Because something like that can crush your spirit. Here you are. You're going to go back and actually, win for the first time somewhere and hopefully progress to the LPGA Tour.
Yep.
We'll find out. I'll tell you what we'll do. I'm going to go get myself a little party pie, and hopefully my red arrives. Obviously, you two have put the kibosh on that because it's still not here. I'm going to get myself a little party pie, and I'll see you on the 10th tee. Hopefully, we'll have the answer whether Anne Van Dam has ever won a European ladies event yet.
Like the podcast? Oh, maybe tell a friend. Drop them a text or share it on your socials. This is Talk Birdie to Me with Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
So, my red wine arrived and it's very nice, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Narelle.
2,
Geez, you're sensitive.
Anne Van Dam, we should be ashamed of ourselves, has won 5 times on the Ladies European Tour.
Yes.
Absolutely ashamed. And 3, she's clearly doesn't play ping clubs, because if she was, it wouldn't have broken off and she would have gone to the playoff and probably won.
That's true. Good point.
So she's not a ping player. And again, a big thanks to Ping for looking after us here at Talk Birdie to us. Hey, a little bit of news too. Cam Smith. Now, I had been told, I'm going to say 6 weeks ago, that 3 of our best players, Adam Scott, Mark Leishman, and Cameron Smith, were not going to play in the Australian Open. Well, one of those has fallen through, and Cam Smith is playing in the PGA and the Open, so that's great news.
That wasn't from your source in the States, was it? Or
no, that's a source from somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah. My source in the States is never
wrong.
Never, ever wrong.
Did they get the Ryder Cup picks right? Or
No, I didn't ask.
Okay.
I didn't ask.
Very cool.
But it is, it's Scotty Scheffler's brother-in-law, so it's not too bad.
Do they think Ludvig will make the European team?
Well, he wouldn't have known that one.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I go to Nick O'Hearn for that sort of stuff. Yeah, for the European tour. Because you would have just called your old caddy and he would have just got the goss for you.
Yeah, sure. No problem at all. He
All
would have
done,
just
all
spoken
done
to
and dusted.
Billy Foster and said, what's the go? Yeah.
Just while we're here, the Australian Open, 2 courses. They're going again. Nothing's confirmed for 2024, but this year it is definitely going to be at 2 courses, the Australian and the Lakes.
Yep.
I think they've done a few things that are going to help the situation to make play a little bit faster.
Correct.
I won't announce them, but I'll let the Australian Golf Australia and the PGA of Australia announce those things. But I think it will be a little bit better as far as pace of play. So well done for working that stuff out, and let's have one more crack at this experiment. If it's good, it's good. If it's no good, then maybe they'll change it. We'll see.
We shall.
Let's get to some results. And you want to start at the LPGA?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll go through the ones we did the Omega Masters DP World Tour, where Ludvig obviously won. 2-shot win over Swedes Alexander Bjork, who came home like a train. Jason Scrivener, best of the Aussies, tied for 36th. So solid week there for
Does
Scriv.
well,
Yeah.
Scriv, doesn't he? He does quite well.
He's a bit on autopilot, that guy from tee to green. Very impressive. At that Irish Open on the Ladies European Tour, WA's Kirsten Rudgley from my old club, Mount Lawley Golf Club. Best finish on tour, had a solo 4th. She was 1 shot out of the playoff.
Well done, Raj.
So a great week for her. She spent a month back in Perth just recently with a coach, Craig Bishop.
Well, they call it K-Rudge? I think so.
Yeah, it could be.
I think it is, yeah.
That'd be a good little nickname.
Yeah.
On the LPGA, the Portland Classic, this is always a favourite for Aussies because usually Hannah Green plays well here, but unfortunately she missed the cut. But it was a unique story there. It was Thailand's...
Go on.
If I get this out,
have
I'm doing really...
Have a sip first.
Let me have a sip.
Have a sip first. This will just loosen it up.
This will be
Here we
good.
go.
Here we go.
Righto.
Thailand's Chanati Wanasayan, the 19-year-old rookie.
More, please. How good are you?
Yeah. Anyway, that 19-year-old rookie, get this. She has missed her last 9 cuts in a row.
God.
She Monday qualifies,
Oh.
shoots a 9 under 63 for a 26 under total and a 4-shot win.
She's missed 9 cuts in a row.
And she shoots 26 under. She's been 45 over for her last 8 tournaments. So
it is a stupid game.
I was just about to say that.
It is a stupid game. And I guarantee it would have been something as simple as she's Monday qualified and she's just found something.
Unbelievable.
She might have moved the ball an inch forward with her irons and maybe, started using her shoulders when she putts, or what it would have been just so simple, and it's a game changer. She would have held an 8-footer on the first hole.
Probably.
She would have just gone, boom. Gee, that felt all right.
I watched some of the back
Off she
9
goes.
highlights, and how she misses 9 cuts in a row, I don't know. But if you're shooting 26 under, obviously you're playing really well. But of the Aussies, Sarah Kemp tied for 21st. Nice solid week for her. Grace Kim tied for 26th. On the Asian Development Tour.
Ooh, geez,
this
we're
is
going
the one
everywhere these days.
Well,
We don't mess around.
because an Aussie won.
Oh,
See?
good.
Queenslander.
Who?
Aaron Wilkin. This was in Vietnam.
We saw him play last
Started the round 7 shots behind Dean Lawson. So remember, Dean had
we saw him all year.
We did. Yep. So Dean finished runner-up, but Aaron had a good win there. Jack Moddock tied for 15th. And also here in Australia, we had the first stage of the European or the DP World Tour qualifying school at Rosebud.
Yeah.
Gave out 4 spots
Yes.
to go through to the second stage, and that was Matthias Sanchez, Andre Lortie, fellow Heath member, Lucas Higgins, and Cooper Eccleston.
Isn't that
made it
fantastic?
through.
That is just fantastic. And can we put a shout out to Braden Becker from WA, who double bogeyed the last and missed.
Yeah, it was a tough finish.
And he's a good player.
Very good.
He's a really nice player. He was 4 under par, standing on the 18th tee. Easily the best round of the day. It was a windy, rotten old day. And my heart goes out to him because that hurts.
Oof. Yeah, it does. Luckily, it was only just first stage. If it was final stage, you kind of go, oof, that would have been even worse. But, yeah, it's a tough game in that regard. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say.
Righto, Dan, it is time for some feedback.
A good reaction from people to Ping coming on board, which is unsurprising.
No, well, it's a great company.
Marky Mark had message in saying, I love my G425s, great game improvement clubs.
Certainly are. They got a nice, beautiful, big sweet spot. The driver and the fairway woods are magnificent. If you haven't tried them, get down to your local shop and give them a go.
You know how I got my new clubs last week?
Oh, yeah, well, you told everyone about it.
I know. Nick saw them. I played with him on Tuesday. He was jealous. And he's had the same set of clubs for how long? He had those dirty old things you've had in your bag for.
Dirty old things. Come on.
You've had them for 6 or 7 years.
I've had them a little while. I'm gonna pay the Ping boys a visit.
What are you going to upgrade to?
Well, I was looking through the catalogue the other day, and the new i59s look really schmick.
They do look nice.
They don't have the biggest sweet spot, as in they're more for your better players.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of what you used to play with, Nick.
yes.
Adrian Diggins has written in.
Okay.
This is in response to the photo of you in the Ping room. You know the room with all the
putters.
What's the room called? The vault?
The gold putter vault.
The gold putter vault. Adrian said, and I'm going to slightly temper the language here, effing broomsticks, angry face, they should be banned 100%. And then about 10 emojis.
Yep.
They are controversial, aren't they?
They are. Yeah, I totally agree. They should be banned.
Yeah, I agree too. My best ever finish at the Australian Masters, I came 5th. 3 of them had long putters in front of me. 3. Bradley Hughes won it, beat Peter Senior, and Terry Price came 3rd. But even retrospectively, I still can't win a tournament because Craig Parry pipped me at the post. So even if they changed it, I still come 2nd.
Email from James here. He said, hey guys, love the podcast. As a fan of the DP World Tour, it was great to see Ludvig win the European Masters.
It was.
What can be done to make sure the big-name players, particularly internationals, compete in more tournaments outside the PGA Tour? I'm talking events like the Scottish Open and the PGA at Wentworth. They're fantastic, but we need to see more of them.
It's a very good question, and they do it well in tennis. So you got your Grand Slams in tennis, and you've got your, looks like I don't know, we'll have to call Todd Woodbridge to find out. You've got your A, Bs, and C tournaments. And it is my understanding that you have to play in your fair share of most of those categories if you are a tennis player. Now, you'd know this better than me.
Yeah.
Is there a system where that could possibly take place with some players, even if they did every second year? You know, a lot of the Americans don't want to travel, we get it.
Yeah.
But every second year, if you went and played, you had to play in 2 DP World Tours, and then you had to play in, somewhere else.
Yeah, well, with this strategic alliance, as they call it now, where Scottish Open and Wentworth, as they say, they're building this relationship with the PGA Tour. That'd be the way to do it and introduce more events in that regard. As you just alluded to, Americans hate travelling overseas. That's part of it as well. And I hate to say it, at the end of the day, appearance money is what really attracts a lot of the players to go overseas as well. So
it's got to be a lot of appearance money these days.
Yeah, especially now.
$1 million, they wouldn't care.
Oh, you'd be surprised. I mean, that's
right.
for your
Would John Rahm come down here for $1 million?
Okay, for those players, probably not. No, I'm talking the bigger names, but not quite in that top 10.
Yeah, I know the sort of player you're talking about. I don't want to call them B graders because they're unbelievable players, but they're just the A graders. So you got the elite players, the A graders. I reckon there'd be a stack of them that wouldn't come down for $1 million Aussie. A stack. They would not care.
Which is sad, really, because as we know, back in the day, the Australian Open was almost the 5th major, wasn't it?
Yeah, good question from James. And he goes on to say, great to see Ping come on board, boys, and support the podcast. I'm playing on an old set of S56s, and they are magnificent.
Oh yeah, I've still got a couple of sets of the S56s. I've got them from S55 all the way up through S59.
That's interesting because you're a lefty. You wouldn't have as many people to give you clubs to as I do. So I imagine you probably do have about 15 sets in your garage.
I got a few left. As I said, I think on a previous pod, I used to give them away to my father-in-law. So and other people.
Speaking of you being a lefty, Nick, Michael Edwards has had a crack at you here.
Okay.
Michael Edwards, 1969. He's replying to your masterclass from last week where you hit a quite sensational drive right-handed.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Come on, man. You're being mean to us regular golfers."
Well, it was actually my second attempt.
Don't
I'm going to throw him under the bus here.
Okay, tell us.
My cameraman, a few holes earlier, we did this. We're out at the Woodlands Golf Club, and it's a little noisy out there because you've got planes coming. So we picked a quiet time. I now hit this tee shot on 15, went through the spiel for the masterclass, and I have laced this thing. I mean, I absolutely laced it.
It was the best drive that he hit all day, he'd been playing left-handed all day, and this one where he hit the ball right-handed and turned his left-handed club upside down to hit it right-handed was the best drive of the day that he hit.
It was. We're walking off the tee, and I thought, I'll better check the video, see what it looks like. Someone forgot to press record.
You know why? This is ridiculous, sorry. It's because at the start, he just fluffed the start a second, and I must have pushed the button on instinct. And then he just kept on going. But I'm telling you, this one that he took was the best take. Not only was the shot perfect, the words were perfect. Even after he nailed it, he didn't even focus on how good a shot it was. He actually went back and said something else of interest. It was the perfect ever masterclass, and I didn't push record.
So a couple of weeks ago, Mark, someone's had a crack at you, I forget who it was, for filming Nick's masterclass and cutting the bottom off the camera and missing it. And now you've missed the great shot.
I know.
That's right. And then someone, who was it that put the...
Shot tracer
on?
Oh, yeah. How good was that?
They did a great job.
Yeah. You are a disgrace,
Thank you.
Mark.
Thank you.
You are a disgrace.
Actually, whoever that shot tracer is, we need to get him on staff.
It was Peter. That's right.
Pete, we might have to start sending you...
we should.
We'll send you the masterclass before we send it out to Real. If you could put the shot tracer on for us, that'd be great.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the shot tracer video, it's on our socials, and it's really, really good.
And that actually was, I hit a beautiful shot up the left, just kind of faded back. It was actually nice, but it wasn't quite as good as the first one.
Had one of the great. Had a.
It was good. It was still good.
Had a message from Kangaroo Great Corey McKernan.
Hey, Causa.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Corey McKernan's written in, said, and he was talking about how you guys toasted Glenn Joyner last week.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest boys. I'm taking on one of his mantras moving forward. TNT, today, not tomorrow. If you have things you want to do, don't hesitate with a love heart.
Great way to be.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah,
good on you. And a lot of people, it's right throughout the week. I think he's having his memorial at the MCG.
Oh, really?
Glenn Joyner on the 12th.
Awesome.
So I'm not sure if everyone's invited, but
Okay.
Got a message from Drew here, who's got a question for you guys. Now, you guys both know Drew because apparently Drew used to caddy for you, Mark.
Yeah, Drew Dublin. He's a police officer these days, Drew Dublin.
Oh, he's a cop. Okay, there you go. He's also a member of the Joondalup Country Club Resort, and there are members' public course there, as you guys know. He's got a couple of issues, and he wants to ask you guys about it.
Here we go.
Joondalup has so many golfers who play all the time, and it's rare that a bunker gets raked correctly or a divot gets fixed correctly. And he reckons this would happen at lots of clubs around the country
it does.
too. Now, he's saying, I appreciate that if I hit into a bunker, it's a hazard, but I don't think it's fair that you end up in an unraked footprint. And what annoys me is that you rip a drive down the middle, you find your ball in a divot that looks like the Grand Canyon. I reckon we should change these rules, as this could cost someone a tournament, a tour card, or even worse, their professional future.
Well, Drew, gee whiz, I could tell some stories about his kid.
Well, funny you say that. He said he's got a few about you. We'll have to get him on.
Yeah, one day.
I used to play junior golf against him too.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you did. In COVID, when you weren't allowed to touch rakes, it seemed to work okay in the bunkers because you could actually place it because no bunkers were being raked.
Preferred lie.
You could put it wherever you liked. And believe me, a whole lot of good bunker players were found because of the perfect lies. Now, that tells me that one of the most important things about playing bunker shots with fairway traps or greenside bunkers is actually diagnosing the lie.
Correct.
And knowing what you can do from the lie that you have been given. So I'm going to say no to both because I want to get snowflakes out of golf. and I want them all to learn how to hit a shot out of a divot. You did a great masterclass recently. And also, you've just got to learn about bad lies in bunkers.
Sure.
And you've got to look at a bunker shot and know what you can and can't do from that lie. I think it's really important, and it's a wonderful part of golf, in my view.
Yeah, I think if you're playing on a public golf course and it's with your friends, totally take that preferred lie. If you're playing in a competition at a private course, which although the Joondalup is private and public, I know, but then it's just play it as it lies. I totally agree with you. Everyone talks about you should get relief from divots, but I don't believe you should. It's because the vagaries come in of, well, is this a divot? Is it not?
Yeah.
Is this a footprint? Is it not in a bunker?
We could have a divot that's almost fixed.
Yeah, exactly.
You get a drop out of that as well? No.
Play it as it lies.
You've really put Drew in his place, haven't you?
Well,
yeah, we have. It's nice.
Sorry, Drew.
Now, last bit of feedback. This is actually a question, and it's feedback and a question. Yeah. And this is a new thing we've got called We've Got Mail.
Yes. Oh, good.
Now, if people want to do this and get involved, they can go to the website, talkbirdietome.com.au, and they can leave a message. There's a little thing you can hit record, and you can start recording, and it sends us a message, and we'll play it on the show.
Who organised that? Did you do that?
I don't know, someone who knows more about that stuff than me.
Well done to you.
We have a message.
Oh, here we go.
We've got mail.
You have one new voicemail.
Ooh, nice.
New message.
Hey, good morning, Nick and Mark. BJ Carter here from Maine. First, just want you to know I love what Talk Birdie is all about, the podcast, the videos, the demonstrations, the conversations, just the general awareness and dialogue around the sport. It's so much fun to be part of you guys' world and listen to you. Quick question for you, though. I do have a debate, a little bit of a dilemma for whatever reason this year. I keep finding myself about 50 yards, 40 yards short of the pin. What seems to be a consistent problem shot for me is a downhill lie. I'm a lefty, whether I've just come out of a bunker or just on the fringe, trying to figure out how to use a 60 degree club, trying to watch a lot of videos on club position, feet position, whether you're leaning forward, just, the swing velocity. So if you had time and you were looking for, an opportunity to walk a lowly amateur through a chronic situation, that would be helpful. Like I said, love Talk Birdie, love what you guys do, and really enjoy following you. Thanks so much.
Good on you, BJ.
Thanks,
nice
BJ.
fella.
He is a lovely guy. He's actually, I know BJ. He's a friend of mine from Maine, up in the northeast in the US.
What's it like up there in Maine? Is it a nice place?
Magnificent.
Everyone loves it. Every time they've got a holiday home in Maine, you hear it all the time.
Played golf with him and another buddy of mine, Joe Bedard, up there. It's an amazing sort of part of the corner of the world, I guess you could say. But BJ, he's a lefty like me. And BJ, great, thanks for messaging in, mate. It's good to hear your voice. It's been a while. But downhill lies, 40 to 50 yards with that lob wedge sand iron, I totally get it. It is a tough shot to play. For me, it's all in the setup, where what you want to do is exaggerate the width of your stance, because you need to lean your weight into your front leg so that you're playing down with the slope. If you don't widen your stance enough, then you can't lean your weight enough because you tend to lose your balance. So over-exaggerate a very wide stance, lean all your weight into your front leg. Ball position is going to be about where you normally have it, probably middle to slightly more forward of stance. And then the key then is just to swing down with the slope. Don't try and lift it. Most people, when they get the lofted clubs in their hands, they want to lift that ball up. Just swing down with the slope. It's going to come out a little bit lower, so you've got to allow for that. And something that might also help is actually on the follow-through, walk through the shot, step through after it, because that'll get your weight going down with the slope. A lot of people, as I said, they tend to hand back and try and lift the ball. So that's what it's all about for me. You can use a variety of clubs, but if you've got that lob wedge in your hand, widen that stance. Really exaggerate that.
Jeez, I like the You've Got Mail stuff. That's good.
Yeah, it's good fun.
So if you want to leave a message like that, Dan, where do people go again?
Talkbirdietome.com.au. About halfway down the page, there's a little thing that says start recording to send Nick and Mark a message.
Good on you, Dan.
That's very
well done for organising that stuff. You should tell us when you do good things. You should.
I reckon we might have talked about it before and you just forgot.
Usually we get a whack.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it just sends that little message when people are whacking us. He loves it.
No, that is the feedback for this week. You guys did have homework, but I reckon we're going to hold your homework till next week.
Okay. What was the homework?
Well, the homework was you guys were going to talk about the part of your game that you struggled with the most through your career.
Okay.
We'll do that next week.
We'll do that next week.
I don't like talking about that stuff.
Okay, this week's top 5. We spoke last week about, I think, did someone message in the top 5 weirdest penalties or disqualifications in golf? And I said, right, next week we're going to do it. Well, that is this week. My number 5 for the weirdest penalties, DQs, whatever you want to call it. 2010 PGA Championship at Whistling Straits. Dustin Johnson came to the last hole.
Very nice.
Tied for the lead. And they had these, well, they have 1,100 bunkers, what they call bunkers on the golf course. Mostly they're waste areas, but at the start of the week, they said, right, all of these waste areas are deemed bunkers, so don't ground your club. DJ unfortunately grounded his club, hit a beautiful shot on the green, made the par, thinking he's in a playoff with Keimer and Bubba Watson, and the official came over and said, sorry, you grounded your club, 2-shot penalty.
He didn't even know. He just thought it was a sandy part of the hill.
Didn't know he did it. Everyone in the locker room was there going, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're grounding your club. They all knew, but it was a tough one. So that's my number 5.
People everywhere, you wouldn't have even known. Like all those people who are watching would have been standing in this thing.
Oh, yeah.
So no one's,
well, that's where he hit the ball, where people were standing.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was a sliver. It was just a bit of dirt on the side, but they
was a
deemed
bunker.
it a bunker. So okay, number 4, 2017 A&A Inspiration. Lexi Thompson had a 4-shot lead on Sunday, and an official. Sorry, she had a 3-shot lead on Sunday, and an official comes up to her early on the back 9 and says, "Lexi, we got a problem. Yesterday, you marked your ball a certain way. It wasn't correct. That's a 2-shot penalty. You signed your scorecard, that's a 2-shot penalty." She had a 4-shot penalty. All of a sudden, she went from being 3 in the lead to 1 behind.
Did she win?
No, she did not. She lost in a playoff to So Yon Rue. So that's a tough one.
Did she break her driver in the playoff?
But if you go back and you watch it on YouTube, it wasn't a good. She marked the ball and then put it to the side because she didn't want to put it in a hole and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, number 3. This is really tough. 2003 British Open at Royal St George's.
Oh no.
Mark Rowe.
Nah.
Played the round of his life in the 3rd round, shot a 5 under 67. He's 3 shots back going into the final round. Unfortunately, at the start of the day when you meant to exchange cards, he was playing with Jesper Parnevik. He and Jesper didn't. They either forgot to exchange cards, or the official gave them cards that were exchanged and then they exchanged them. Basically, they marked their own cards, handed them in, signed the wrong cards. Disqualification. It was horrific.
That's not the British Open I thought you were about to say, but go on, that's a ridiculous one.
Well, there is another British Open. That was number 3. Number 2, 2001 Open Championship at, I think it was Royal Lytham.
Was he leading?
Ian Woosnam.
Yeah.
Starts with a par 3. And Woosie was on the range experimenting between a couple of drivers.
Yeah.
And they forgot to take the driver out of the bag because they were starting on a par 3.
If it's a par 4 start, there's no way this happens.
No way.
No way it happens.
Got to the second tee and Miles Burney's caddy said, Woosie, I think you're about to go ballistic, mate. I got too many clubs in the bag here. So, 15 clubs and 2-shot penalty. You ended up losing by 3 or 4. So,
right. What's your number 1?
Number 1, going back in history a little bit here. 1968 Masters, Roberto Di Vincenzo.
Oh, what a disaster.
Tommy Aaron, his playing partner, wrote down a 4 on 17 when he actually made a 3. And when they got into the scorer's hut, they signed the cards. And unfortunately, he didn't pick up the mistake and he signed for 1 shot higher. It means he lost by 1 shot to Bob Goldie. And the famous line that was quoted,
I was waiting for it.
"What a stupid I am."
What a stupid I am. Fantastic.
To lose the Masters by 1 shot. So they're my 5 weirdest penalties, DQs.
It's just not fair, is it? That Robert Da Vinci, how do you say
Di Vincenzo.
Di Vincenzo.
You can't get the names out, can you?
No, not today.
Okay.
Oh, ever.
We finished your wine too, so maybe that's it.
But it's just such a shame that they don't do that sort of stuff anymore.
No.
It's a totally different system.
But golf is the only sport. Golf is the only sport where you have to mark your own score.
Yeah.
In every other sport, everyone else does it. You don't have to worry about it. They need to change that rule. There's another one.
Okay. Well, it's time for the masterclass. Now it's my turn. It's my turn.
It is.
And I'm going to do this. I've played golf the last 2 days. I played golf with a fellow who doesn't play much golf yesterday. And I played with 3 fellas today who don't play much golf. And topping it is the bane of most golfers' existence. They hate it. And it's ridiculous because I think, and I really truly believe, that the only reason, or one of the main reasons that people top the ball is because they're trying to hit the ball up in the air. Now, you've got to imagine sometimes that you're playing golf with a hockey stick. Now, with a hockey stick, because it doesn't have any loft, if you made a swing and tried to hit a hockey ball, then you're just going to hit that hockey ball along the ground. If you tried to hit the hockey ball up, it's a real skill, and it doesn't quite often work. Now, a golf ball, it's only 3 centimetres high. So if you come up, if that bottom part of your golf club comes up 1.5 centimetres, that's the top. You're going to hit it right in the belly. So what I've been telling people yesterday and today is that to stop trying to hit the ball high. It's as simple as that. Just hit the ball.
Was that with the irons or the driver?
With everything. Because, the back foot top is the easiest thing in the world, I think, to fix. But if you've been doing it for a long time, it's hard to change your mindset because you think it's not tennis. If you want to lob one over your opponent, you actually physically hit the ball up. If you're playing cricket, you want to hit one over the fielders for 6, you've got to physically hit the ball up. But in golf, you don't really have to physically hit it up for the ball to fly. So yesterday and today, once I started telling the people I was playing with not to try and hit high shots, it just completely changes everything to a point where they're not even on the back foot anymore.
Beautiful.
They actually roll up, the bit of weight on the front foot and the back foot comes up on the toe. So if you're topping the ball, if you're a horrible topper of the golf ball, stop trying to hit high shots. End of story.
Yeah, it's almost a game of opposites, isn't it? To get it to go up, you almost got to hit down on it a little.
Yeah. The other masterclass is if you're in a golf cart going to the first playoff hole, make sure your caddy's in the back. Make sure your caddy's in the back.
Lifting that rope.
And her job is to get the rope not only over your head, but over the club's heads as well.
Well, have you ever taken 2 backup drivers to a tournament? That may be the other solution.
That might be the solution. Anyway, a big thank you to Royal Melbourne, a big thank you to Ping, and a big thank you to all our listeners. We really appreciate all the feedback. And if you've got some, get in touch with our socials. Push that play record button on talkbirdietome.com.au, and we'll see you next time.
All right, cheers, Mark.
Oh, there it is. That's Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen's podcast, Talk Birdie to Me. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and you'll never miss an episode. And if you can share with a friend, well, that'll be awesome too. Talk Birdie to Me's executive producer is Dan Bradley at Kaizen Media. Sound design, Daryl Misson at loudzebra.com.